Hello, Dr. Vikki Petersen here. I wanted to speak with you today about a study that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition several months ago, and it had to do with the grain quinoa. We call quinoa a grain because it kind of cooks up like one, but it's actually the seed of a plant that is quite similar to spinach and another green, and it hails from Andes, the mountains in Andes, and it is considered one of nature's perfect foods in that it's high in protein, it has all the amino acids necessary to make it kind of a perfect protein food. It's easy to cook, it's economical, so why are we talking about it? It's always been considered a gluten-free grain. Once again, that word grain, but just go with me on that. We kind of put it in that category, even though it's a misnomer. And the reason it's been considered gluten-free is that it's low in an amino acid, proline and glutamine. So these are amino acids that are high in our standard gluten-containing grains like wheat, rye, and barley, also found in corn and a little bit in oats. But the researchers of this particular study, what they wanted to look at was the fact that even though quinoa has long been considered gluten-free, is it really? And they said very little research had been done, so they endeavored to do it, and this is what they found out. They checked out 15 different cultivars, so these are cultivated varieties of a single plant, and there were 15 of them. At least that's what I'm not sure if there's only 15 coming out of the Andes, but they looked at 15, which was a pretty big number. And what they were looking for specifically was to find out if there was any sort of immune activity similar to what happens in a person with celiac disease, where that proline and glutamine, those amino acids, cause a response of the immune system to attack that food. So as we know, when you're celiac, your body does not look favorably upon gluten-containing foods, and it attacks them as if it was a toxin, and they were basically looking for that scenario to occur in any of these 15 different cultivars. And what they found out was that in 4 of the cultivars, 4 out of 15, there was a response, but not enough to take it above those 20 parts per million, which is the definition of a gluten-containing food. There's more than 20 parts per million of gluten, then it's considered gluten-containing, and if less, then it's considered gluten-free. Now, a lot of people wish the definition was 0 and absolutely no gluten was allowed in a food that was deemed gluten-free, but that's a discussion for another time. So the research found in 4 of the 15 there was a response, but it was low. It was below that threshold of what would be considered a gluten-containing food. However, in 2 of the cultivars there was a response on par with a gluten-containing food. So with 2 of these 15 cultivars of quinoa, the cells did react as if they were seeing gluten. Now, there's some interesting names to these cultivars, but I wanted you to have them. So here they are. It's Ayacuchana and Pasancala. So there it is in writing for you. And the question is this: when you buy quinoa from the store, are you able to determine the cultivar? I did a little research before speaking to you today, and it wasn't easily determined what cultivar a particular company was using. I think if you wrote to a company, it would be interesting to find out what they said. I didn't get that far as writing to companies that produce quinoa for us, but what it comes down to is this: is quinoa by and large gluten-free and safe? Yes. However, 2 out of 15 is still a significant amount of these cultivars that truly create a gluten-free response. 4 out of the 15 still created an immune response, and some of you watching who are celiac know that you are one of those highly sensitive people that it's not good enough that something is labeled gluten-free. It actually has to be 0 gluten or very, very low. Once it's approaching that 20 parts per million, your immune system tends to know it. So this can be helpful for those people who maybe are having a reaction but rule out quinoa because they know it's safe and they're looking in other areas. We have a test we use here. It's a blood test for cross-reactive foods, meaning your body's immune system sees a traditionally non-gluten food as gluten because of the protein structure is so similar, and quinoa is on that test. So we can do that test to see if someone's reacting specifically. If you sense you're reacting, here's the question on the table that I don't have a complete answer for, which is, could you maybe go to a different cultivar and stop reacting? Good question. If you feel that you really are somebody who's reacting to quinoa, number one, I would urge you to find a clinician who can help you with healing the secondary effects of gluten, all aspects of leaky gut, boosting the immune system, looking for infections, boosting the probiotics. Go through that whole program, get yourself nice and restored, and then maybe do a challenge if you can find out what cultivar it is and avoid the 2 we just discussed, and see if you still react. But hopefully this is informative for those of you who have wondered, you've heard some things about it. This is the science, this is the research that came up, and I hope it's helpful for you. So until next time, I wish you very good health.